What's up, everybody? Welcome to Paranormal Round Table. Can everybody hear me? Make sure we got everything squared away. I moved the microphone to the other side. I didn't like it the way it was, so I moved it. So hopefully that'll help. Got 61 people in the chat. Well, it says 59 right there, but we got enough people to get started. Oh, I don't know if anybody saw the pictures I posted from the gym last night. I ended up going to the PF gym because I didn't want to lift heavy. I was tired, and I was very tired. My wife's like, "Hey, let's take some photos." And so I did. And I tried to look as much like my action figure as possible, since I'm being attacked for not looking like my action figure. People are ridiculous. People are so ridiculous. Today's my wife's birthday, everybody. So if you haven't already, wish Nellie a happy birthday. She could have been selfish and had me to herself today, but she wanted me to do the live stream and keep the continuity of the show. And we're going to do something tomorrow for her birthday. We got a lot of things to talk about. I'm going to have a couple of people come on, and we're going to call some people. And we're going to see we're going to see where that takes us. And Nellie is not in the studio today. She's at home. She was watching a show about fungus, mushrooms, something like that. It was pretty cool. So, anyways, I have sponsors. One of them is my friend's restaurant called Spinners. This is their hat. This is their logo. I'm going to get the name Spinners on there so that I can wear it on the show and promote it a little better. But that is their logo. See, my friend Arash, he used to box and he chipped his tooth right here. See that? So that he uses that as the logo to his restaurant. Spinners in Austin, Texas. Really good place to eat. Got great food. Turkey legs are amazing. This is the new PRT hats we have. So, and I can put that on. Well, if I can get it over my head, let me get the snapback. They're pretty good quality. These cost us a pretty penny to make. I'm planning on giving them a few of them away to get the ball rolling on them. There we go. So that is the PRT hat. It's got the logo. We only got the one logo right now. We're hoping to get some with the other logo too. So let me know what you think. Chris Clough, thank you for that donation. So that's that. So I was talking to Lyle Blackburn, who may end up being my partner in the whole action figure deal, and people said some overwhelmingly it was positive, the things that they said about the action figures, but some people said some weird things, like he should sue the people who made it, and he like one guy told him that he didn't understand why he had an action figure and he didn't, because he was more famous than him. So wow. So yeah, that's crazy. And I do have some bottles of Lyle's hot sauce that he sent me that he signed, so I may be giving some of those away. And what else we need to talk about? I hope everybody enjoyed Friday's episode. Last Friday, or what would have been last Friday's episode. It was the Brazilian Exorcist. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's get to this. PRTpodcast.com is our website, PRTpodcast.com. Also, we have a Josh Turner at PRTpodcast.com. That is the email address. If you want to send stories, or you can send me a friend request on Facebook and message me that way. If you please, if you send me a friend request on Facebook, please send me a message saying, "Hey, I listened to the show," so I don't have to ask you. Because if I have to ask you, I'm probably just not going to. I'm probably just going to delete your request, and I've done that multiple times and offended people. Just send me the friend request. Send the message with it. So, also, I need to do the address, Anthony. So if you can bring the notebook in here that has the address written down on it, because I don't remember it by heart. Last Wednesday, this past Wednesday, be a week from tomorrow, a week ago, Wednesday night, Scott Martis passed away. Scott was a good friend of mine. I saw Ken Gerhard made a post about it just recently too. He was a friend of all of ours. Really sucks. The week before, my friend Glenn, who worked for me part-time, didn't really need to work for us. He just liked to work, and he had a very good job, made good money. He took his own life. Glenn Wilburn. We called him G. De Niro. He was a good friend of ours, and he worked for us, like I said. So then the following week, Scott Martis dies of an infection in his leg. So I'm sitting there still trying to wrap my mind around Glenn and what he did. And then Scott passes away suddenly. So it's been hard. On another note, a positive note, I got a new cat. I finally got my cat, a kitten, and he's a little black cat. I liked him. He had a cool personality. There was a lot of other cats there. He was the only solid black cat, and a lot of times black cats don't get picked. People, unless they're gonna take them and do something bad to them or something, there's people like that, in this world that are evil, and so. But anyways, I picked him and we named him Martis. They already named him. They named him Edward, but he's a little kitten, like not even 8 weeks old. So he didn't know his name. So we were just like, we called him Martis. So I think he's learning his name now. We're saying it all the time. He's a mess, man. He gets into everything. He's cool, though. He's got a great personality. Very loving little cat. So only problem is he gets along with the dogs and the ferret just great. The ferrets and the dogs love him. The other cat, Panzer, who's actually been on the show, doesn't like him. And every time he's around Martis, he's like, and Martis is just like, what's wrong with this guy? He's having a great time, having fun, running around, playing. And Martis is just a lovable little thing, and Panzer hates him. So anybody that knows cats, explain to me why Panzer hates him so bad. Is it jealousy? Is it territory? Whatever. They're both neutered males. So I'm not really understanding. But anyway. Oh, it's been a busy week. I had a very entertaining and long conversation with my friend Barton Sunday night. Came up with some pretty cool ideas for the show. One of which I think I'm going to implement starting tonight. Anyways, the address you want to send us anything is 6001 West Palmer Lane, Suite 370, PMB 131, Austin, Texas 78727. Palmer is spelled Parmer. 6001 West Palmer Lane, Suite 370 PMB 131, Austin, Texas 78727. So Palmer, spelled Parmer. So if you want to send me something, Chris Clough, you sent me some peanut brittle that was out of this freaking world, along with some other goodies. I really appreciated it. My waistline, not good for the waistline, but I did enjoy the snacks. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So let's get started here. Let's do the Patreon members. Ryan, Super Hornet 1, Debbie Wolf, Extreme Reality Check, Histotech, James Estrada, Tim Menard, Ricardo Herrera, Barry, Titan, Chronological, Dead Man Walking, Guy, Don Wells, Melissa Panay, Derek Tribble, Patrick Nickerson, Joyce Burnett, Wendy Page Williams, Barbara Blendy, Martin Hertel, Terry Fusler, Chris Clough, Lou the Goofy Doofy, Curtis Turner, Philip Morn, Alexander Murphy, Matthew Durgo, Chris Smith, and Ralph Ayu. Those are our $10 tier supporters of the show. They give at least $10. Some people give more. And you're more than welcome to give more. It's greatly appreciated. Anything helps to keep the show going. I got a very weird story for you guys. And this is a friend of mine, like from the old days. He's a buddy of mine from way back when. And actually, speaking of our Ash's bar, or restaurant, bar and grill, Spinners, he works there as the night manager, 4 days a week, and he has a regular job that he works for a large company, and he's going to tell us a story. I'm going to wait till we get about 150 to 200 into the chat, and then we're going to start off with that. And we're going to go from there. And then I'm going to talk about a few other weird things. So never fear. We're going to have story time. I'm going to take Barton's advice and start off each show with a story. Instead of making you, wait. We're going to maybe start off with one once we get the people in the chat. So go get all your friends, get everybody rounded up so we can hear what he has to say, because it's pretty freaky. And then it's going to lead into some other freaky stuff, and then you're going to be like, wow, that's freaky. And then this coming Friday, we're going to talk some Bigfoot and ghosts with a couple of sisters from Washington. What would have been last Friday's show, we didn't drop it on Friday in honor of Scott's passing. We wanted to honor Scott by not dropping that. Because I had just found out Friday morning. So I wanted to take that day off and pay my respects to Scott. Pray for his family. So we decided to drop it on Saturday. Saturday's show was very weird. A lot of weird stuff went on in that case, not the least of which was the demonic canid aspect of it. If you haven't listened to the show, I would say go back and listen to it, because it has I don't want to say dogman element, but I would say some sort of hellhound, demonic, werewolf type. I was talking to a person who has a very large group. I was talking to her yesterday about what an encounter that she had with someone, and hold on one second. It says here, Frank 522, Josh, thanks for scary dogman stories to get my mind off the true monsters of this world, the politicians. Yeah, and don't forget to hit the like button. We've got 150 viewers, only 50 likes. Yeah, we could use the likes. It helps. Was there supposed to be sound on this thing with the little ghosty guy that comes on? I mean, I'm okay that there was no sound on there, but was there supposed to be sound on there? Oh, it's showing up on their end, and everybody can hear me just fine. Somebody said 15 minutes in, no response. What's going on? What do you mean, Doris? Oh, the somebody wants to know about the drug dealers who had the dog man. That's a story. It'll come. Don't worry. There's that one, and then there's a couple others that we're going to be doing on the Hernandez Ranch. I'm just trying to get all my ducks in a row to make sure that I have all the information. Curtis Turner, you never told me how you liked my gift to you. I liked it. Thank you. Honestly. I appreciate it too. Thank you. Nene Perkins, thank you for that donation. Much love to Josh and Ellie along with the whole PRT crew and family. We appreciate your help in keeping this show going. We have got to get this person, see if they're ready. The chat room's filling up. I'm messaging them right now. Chili Freeze, $10. Josh, you have helped me get out of my funk after trying to deal with my dogman sighting. Cool. Give me the information about your sighting too, and we can tell the story if it's something you'd be interested in. All right, this person's about ready. Somebody asked me a question about they asked me a question about how to get their comment read. Honestly, there is no magic formula. It's the luck of the draw. If you give a donation, automatically we read your comment. But that's you don't have to give a donation to have your comment read. It's just somebody had said, well, leave a donation, whatever. Yeah, that will get your comment read. But there, as far as just a regular comment, there's bunches and bunches of comments just running across the screen. So I can't guarantee getting anyone in particular's comment. How many of you would buy or collect a line of cryptids? Somebody keeps telling me about this Discord server. Okay, I don't know what that is. I guess I don't know. What is Discord, Anthony? People keep asking me about this. Supposedly this month will be when they drop the episode for Church of the Forgotten, when we were on the Travel Channel, me and Scorpio. That's what they claim. I don't know when they're doing it, but that's what they said. It would be toward the end of August we'll see. And let me know how you feel about a line of cryptid action figures, and with there being a handful of human figures to go with it, like myself, Ken Gerhard, Lyle Blackburn, Nick Redfern. I talked to Nick Redfern, I guess Friday night. We had a really long conversation, and he was on board with that. And so, yeah, he's going to be giving me a lot of advice on how to write my book. I don't know if I'm going to write more than one book, but I'm definitely going to write at least a book so I can have something to sign and give to you. So I'm just going to scribble a bunch of crap in some pages and say, here you go. I'm kidding. I would never. That's the problem, is that I will not do that. I'm not going to just pump out some garbage and just give to you guys. So me and him had a long conversation about writing this book. I've also talked to Ken and Lyle and different people about writing. And Barton's got, he's in the middle of writing his another book. And like I said, I think Barton wrote the greatest, in humanoids is, and then Albert Rosales has a huge collection of stories. We need to get him on the show. We're working with getting Steve Stockton to come on. Bear with me, folks, because there are a ton of people that want to come on the show, a ton of people that we're trying to get to come on the show. And Ken was supposed to drop some honey in the ear of David Paulides to get him to come and talk to me. I haven't been able to actually even reach out to him. I've been so busy, but hopefully he did at the last conference, and we'll get him on the show too. Lost touch with Chad Lewis. I was like, talking about getting him on, doing the Wendigo, and then it kind of we just stopped talking, and we just kind of, so, I don't know if I can even remember, but if somebody will reach out to him and say, hey, go on Josh Turner's show, then we'll get him on here and we'll talk. Chad Lewis is a great author too. We'll be doing a Mothman show with Ashley Hilt. Hopefully that'll be a good one. $20 from Susan Flat Young. I appreciate that. Thanks for supporting the show. It's good evening, Wolf, Nellie, Anthony, Ryan, and the entire PRT family. Yes, of course. I'd buy a cryptid figure. You gonna buy that? Well, I tell you what. You could be playing with the devil, playing with them toys. That's what I'm just saying. Ain't no telling what you're messing with. You gonna buy that of the devil? So this is my custom-made PRT hat that I had made from Lids. See? Yeah, fits my big head. I think. I don't know. I think it does. But it's stretchy. It's not a snapback. It's a different style. It's the one they call the 3930, I believe. But I had this one made because I like the black and the white. And so we're almost at 200. There we go, 200. So we're going to call. My friend is going to tell a pretty weird story. And then we're going to go from there. I even have these on right. Probably not. Which side is supposed to be which here? Is there a certain side here? Yes. Okay, there is. This is left. This is your left. This is your right. Okay. Let's give him a call. Let's see if I can get this hat to look right. Yo. No, we're not doing that. Here we go. Just call me Skiller's X, yo. Yeah. So let's get this going here. kind of quiet, Anthony. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Nick. You're a little bit
Hey.
quiet. You're a little bit quiet. We're going to see if the audience can hear you. And make sure that can you folks at home hear Nick? See what they say. So, folks at home, this is Nick. Nick, I've known you for probably 20, at least 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that.
Yeah, you've been. This is Big Nick. He's a big guy. He's been working downtown for a long time. We bounced together at some pretty rough places. Pretty rough. And you're working now at you want to tell the folks what you do, where you're working at, like as far as the night job.
Oh yeah. You can catch me up north at Spinners, Bar and Grill. We're infamously known for our turkey legs and our seafood boils. Great place to come hang out, have a good time, a drink, something to eat.
Yeah,
No place better.
yeah, and you're the night guy, and you and Arash have been friends for a long time. We've all been
Yes,
friends.
sir.
We all ran in the
Yes,
same
sir.
circles, yeah. And so we almost had had an altercation with your guy, one of your bouncers. He didn't know who I was, and he was like just having a bad night, and we had a little run in. I just saw him again yesterday. He's actually a really good kid. And I could tell he was one of your guys because he was like, and he carded me. He carded me. At first, I was feeling good about myself. I was like, oh yeah, I've been working out and eating healthy. Maybe I'm looking good. And he's like, no, I'm doing my job. And turned out he's actually a pretty good kid. I like him. So
That young guy testosterone, brother.
yeah, he had that young bull, going. What was even weirder was Arash's wife sending us that thing about the buck moon.
Right.
Yeah, and it said that that there will be the horns, rutting of the horns, whatever. And I was like, that's weird. And then that happened, and earlier in that evening, we saw two guys getting into it at the store, and I was just like, I walk in, these two guys were about to, and I'm going like, what's going on tonight, But me and my wife were just having a good night, and then all that kind of went down. But he apologized. He came up, and everybody was it was all's well that ends well. And he seems like a
Awesome.
pretty good guy, and hopefully he's going to be training, with us. So Nick, you had something really, and I can say this about Nick. Nick's a tough guy. I've seen Nick fight. I've seen you. You're not. You're a no nonsense guy. You're like me. You don't take any mess, and
Yes,
it
sir.
takes a lot to scare you. But you had a really weird thing that happened to you one time. Do you want to get into that? You want to talk about what happened to you?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, for those who don't know me, I have a passion for the night industry, the bar and the club thing, but I always keep a day job, a 9 to 5, because that's where your benefits are, and
Mm-hmm.
I gotta definitely support the family. But I work for a pretty influential company during the day for probably about the last 5 years, and I can remember. I had a strange encounter probably like 30 days after my of working there in training. We had some VPs come in from out of country, from Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. That's where they were coming from, and they came and they're doing their quality control, and that normal welcome to the company, and we're glad that you guys are working for us. You don't understand how important your job is, blah blah blah. And it's lunchtime. I'm the first one at the elevator, bro. It's time to go. And I get in the elevator. I'm at the back of the elevator, and everybody's piling on, and it just so happens that the two VPs, they get on the elevator as well, and they're making small talk to some of the people that are in the elevator, talking about Texas heat, like, oh gosh, I don't know how you guys deal with it, and Normally when the VPs come to visit us, they kind of dress down, and which was kind of weird because this guy was completely suited up. You know, Joss A. Bank, starched, button up with the tie, and it's like in the middle of the summer. We're pushing 90 something plus degrees. Everybody got polos on, if that. And I'm watching him, and I'm watching him talk, and I don't say too much, but as he's talking about the heat, I noticed him scratching at his neck, and I'm a germaphobe, bro. I don't, like people picking boogers or blow sneezing into their hands, man. I pay attention to all of that. So he's scratching at his neck, man. And I'm looking at him. I'm looking, and man, for like literally probably like 15 seconds, I see as he's scratching at his neck, like the collar of his shirt moves. And get this, for him being a Caucasian man, at his neck was definitely a different texture of skin, color. Uh, it looked like I I want to say it looked like lizard skin,
Hmm.
like like not exactly like plates or anything like that, but it was green in color. And I think he realized what he was doing and panicked because he pulled his neck down, he pulled his hand from his neck, adjusted his tie, and then he's doing the side glance like, oh, did anybody see what I was doing? You know, and I was born in '79, so there was back when I was growing up, there was this movie called V.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Infamous movie V, and I'll never forget the scene where the lady swallowed that gerbil. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
you remember that
Oh yeah.
movie?
I remember that movie. There was
Yeah.
a series.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, and those aliens were reptilian underneath, and man, it reminded me like instant flashback. I felt like deja vu, like I had seen this before. He had reptilian skin underneath his, like right there where his neck and his shirt met. Man, it freaked me out. Freaked me out. I couldn't wait to get off of that elevator, man. But uh, I've in this job, it's, like I said, it's a very influential company. Uh,
Oh, it's a
I
large. I
would
know who you work for, and it is a large, large company. And if we were to say who they were, we'd probably be in trouble. So we can't say who they are.
Yeah, but if your listeners knew who it was, they would be like, I believe it 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And when you told me that story, I was just like, but I mean, it didn't shock me. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, because downtown, Nick can tell you. I mean, like I have spoken about reptilians before because I believe at the same bar that me and you worked at downtown. You worked at it when it was Exodus, I believe. And I worked at
Right.
it when it was Roxy, and of course you heard the stories. We, me and Fraser and all the other Arash, we all had uh, a guy there that attacked one of our bartenders, and I mean when we threw him out the door, and you know the story, he had like felt like a bridge or something on his back. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. And I was just like, I told that story, and then that story became kind of a legend downtown. But I saw that guy once or twice after that, and he didn't seem like anything but a normal guy. But when we were fighting,
Right.
I could feel that whatever that was on his back, and I told Arash, and I told Squid and Scorpion Diablo and Willie and everybody at that time. I said there's something weird, and then Willie had felt it too, like he had grabbed his shirt, and when we tossed him out the door, and you've seen this. I mean, most people get into a fight with a guy like me. They're not going to just take a beating, like, and he wasn't an overly large guy, but he
Right.
took it like a champ and just jumped up and was outside jumping around like it was nothing. And I'm going like, this guy is not a normal guy, and,
Yeah.
me and Tommy had talked about it over the years. You remember Tommy?
Yes, sir.
And Tommy was just like, we always wondered like what was up with that dude, because when Tommy tried to grab him, he just kind of threw him, and we were like, dude, it was like nothing. And it was Clay. Clay was like 6'7". He was ex-con, and he was in prison for a while. He was a big, tough guy, and he just
Right.
grabbed him and pulled him over the bar. And I was like, I was in shock, how easily he was handling him, and then to take the beating that he did. I mean, it was unreal. And then
Yeah, this is way beyond liquid courage.
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, and it was all over that girl that worked there. And then, of course, she was terrified of him, and then she went on to tell a bunch of us, how his eyes would slit up, and then started talking to the bouncers and Chigo and Squid and everybody, and they were like, yeah, we saw his eyes slitting up. My brother saw it too. I didn't see it because I was in the thick of it fighting with him, but his eyes slitted up, and it was just a weird thing, and we have gotten stories like that over the years of people downtown, and Nick, this. We actually joked about this the other day. People we'll be walking downtown, and we're both big guys, so we're not going to be walking downtown with suits on in 110-degree weather.
Right.
But you see these fools doing that, and you're like, what, is this guy a lizard? Or and you're going like, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
The things that go bump in the night, man, I tell you.
it's crazy. I mean, like, we see some weird stuff, especially working in a bar. You'll see people coming in there just looking weird, like, middle of wintertime, have a huge jacket on, and then they'll have like shorts and these long socks up to their knees, and you're like,
Right.
it's like gym
Right.
shorts, and they're out to party, and you're just like, okay,
Right.
this guy's, yeah. But I mean, you see some weird stuff, but this goes beyond that. I mean, what you saw was, what I
Yeah.
believe a reptilian, and of course, you said he was a higher up in the executives. That's weird, and these are the people who are calling the shots. They're the shot callers, and
Yes, sir.
you said when you told me the story, you said you were looking at your phone, just kind of trying to pretend like you weren't interested in what they were doing. Do you think he saw you looking over at him?
I was kind of off to his peripheral, and thank God, he didn't really notice me, because who knows, you know what I mean? Like, he could have pulled me in the office and had an extra time. Man, I definitely didn't want none of that.
Yeah. Be like, you didn't see anything as he's eating like, flies.
Right, right.
He's sitting there chomping down on crickets, and you're like, I didn't see anything of whatever. Just
Right.
please don't eat me. I'm good,
Yeah, there's too many instances where, people have seen things, and they feel like maybe their mind was playing tricks on them. Believe what you believe in your gut, and believe what you see. Your eyes are showing you what's out there, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, funny that my wife just said that today. We had a talk, and she's like, or last night, and she was like, I go with my gut. When something weird happens like that, she's like, I just have decided that I'm going to go with my instinct. And there have been several incidents that I've gotten of people that too, that we both know as friends, who've swore up and down that they've seen people shift or move and
Yeah,
do
oh
weird
yeah.
things, like buddy of mine, and I want to say his name. Actually, I'm pretty sure him. He used to bounce downtown, and you can probably guess who I'm talking about. He's always getting banned on Facebook. I think you worked with him for a while.
Yeah,
Got a
yeah.
big long beard, and so he was saying something the other day that he was at the gym working out, and he said that this guy was doing shrugs. I think he
Okay.
told me this a couple months ago, and he said that the guy when he went to go put down the weights, and that his left like arm, like he had a tank top on, that it looked like it kind of turned like a weirdish bluish green color and then went back to normal. And he thought, oh, that's
Wow.
weird. Is that his veins or what? And then he said that he watched him, and he did it a couple more times. He said he saw the guy kind of looking over at him through the mirrors, and he just turned his head like, But he said it was weird, and then finally he told his girlfriend, "Hey, did you see that?" And she was like, "Yeah, I saw that." Then the guy just kind of ducked out, but he was a really tall, kind of a slim build, but real muscular and cut, and he had like
Right.
reddish blonde hair. But it was weird. They were like, what was that? And I know that one time, me and Arash were in the gym, and we were finishing up where we were swimming. We were swimming those miles back when I was boxing, and we would do our road work, and
Sure.
we were swimming those miles, and me and Arash were done swimming about a mile and a half. And we were doing it every day back in '06, and we were going back to the dressing room, and this guy that was in there, like when he walked right by us, like we just kind of stood up, kind of lifted our heads for a minute and kind of nodded at him. And I could have swore the guy, like just one of his eyes, like turned yellow for a second, like went like real quick.
Wow.
And then Arash was like, "Whoa, did I just see that?" And I was like, "What was that?" Like, and he looked like in the movies, how when you see like the werewolf or the vampire or something, their eye will change, but it was just like one eye kind of moved
Right.
like real quick, and I was like, there was like a light or something, and we just were kind of like, we just blew it off as like, I don't know, but we both saw it, so it had to be something. And it was weird because the guy, like when we were leaving, the guy was doing laps and he was swimming so fast, it was like Michael Phelps. And I was sitting there telling Arash, I was like, look at this guy. Was he superhuman or something? And I don't know if these people are, if they're aliens or where they come from or what they are. But this guy, he seemed like he was amphibious or something, like how fast he was going back and forth without coming up for air too. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy.
never saw him again though. A lot of times you see the same people swimming, the same people lifting, I never saw that guy again. So I don't know if he was from out of town or what, but that was just really weird and bizarre. So yeah, Nick, I'm gonna let you go, man. But I appreciate you coming on, and I'll see you down there again. I'll see you again, buddy.
For sure, brother. I appreciate you giving me a call, man.
Yeah, and thanks for telling that story, because that's going to lead us into all kinds of some other weirdness. And
Yeah.
like I said, a
Yeah.
bunch of our brothers from downtown back in the day have a lot of weird stories to tell. And people, I'm telling you, Sixth Street's a very, very weird place. And if you hadn't been down there for like 20 years, like me and like Nick have, you wouldn't believe all the weird stuff that we've seen and heard. And
Yeah. It's
there's,
a feeding ground,
mm-hmm,
It's a feeding ground. It goes with, the thought about, people being inhibited by the spirits, by drinking and everything.
mm-hmm,
So, you're gonna question yourself, be like, oh, maybe I was drunk or something. Nah, believe in your gut. You saw what you saw, and
mm-hmm.
they're out there.
They are. And of
Yes,
course, we've
sir.
heard stories of everything under the sun: ghosts, vampires, all kinds of weird stuff. And you take it
Yeah,
with a grain of
man.
salt. But some of these people, when they tell you you've worked with these people, and that one day they tell you a weird story, and so I was always collecting these weird stories, and I'm sure you guys probably thought it was weird back then. I was always like down to hear a weird story, and I thought one day I'm going to do something with that. But your story was definitely weird, Nick, and I appreciate you coming on. And I know you're a dad and you're very busy, and you got a lot of things to do. Um,
Yeah, man.
yeah, and I'll catch up with you. Probably see you this weekend up there.
That's awesome, brother. You take care. Appreciate you. You take care tonight.
Yeah, you too, man. You be safe and be careful for those executives.
Got you, brother. You take care. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. All right, Nick.
Bye.
Bye. So, guys, that was Nick, a good friend of mine. Known him for over 20 years, and I when you hear the stories, and I'm telling you right now, the people that we work with, I mean, there's you work down there for 20 years, you're going to hear some stories. You're going to hear some weird stories. And that'll bring me into another segment here, downtown Austin weirdness. Had a woman give me a story about what she believed was a possible shapeshifter reptilian. She was a bartender, and actually Nick might know her too. And we all worked with her. And so I don't want to say her name because I don't really have permission to, but I mean, I don't even know if she works down there anymore or what, but she was parked at a garage. It was there was a garage right there by, and I actually did security at that garage too. There were several garages, parking garages I did security at, but I did security with Scorpion on this at this one particular garage, and she kind of freaked out. My buddy Squid had walked her to her car, and then when he was walking out of the garage, she had called him up, and I don't remember how it went down, but like she was frantic and freaking out that there was a guy in the car next to her, and he looked like his skin he was peeling on one side of his face, and he was like pulling it off. And I believe it was Squid. It was either him or Chico, where there were our door guys. And she claimed, according to what she told them, and I can't remember which one it was. I can ask Squid about it, and I've been meaning to, but I don't want to butcher the story too bad. But the gist of it was that she witnessed a guy sitting in a big truck, like a big, like a F-350, and that he was just sitting in the truck like he was asleep. And when she got in her car to drive off, I guess she woke him up, and he began to pull at his face. And when he did, there were pieces of flesh coming off of his face, and it was green underneath. Okay. Not like if you scratched your face, you would bleed. I mean, it'd be like, you're bleeding. No, there was like pieces of skin coming off. She tried to like rationalize it to my buddy and later on and to me whenever he told me that it was like maybe it was special effects or something, because there are movies that are made here in Austin, but at that time, and Scorpion said about the garage in Guadalupe. No, this was not Guadalupe, Scorpion. It was St. David's, the garage. And so she said that he was pulling his flesh off of his face. That's what I was told. And she was setting up, and whatever. And our buddy from Jamaica who works with Nick actually was the bar back at that time at the bar, and they were busy working, whatever. And Frazier was like, what? Like he stopped. And now Frazier has some weird stories too. He's from Jamaica, and he's told me some crazy stuff, and I need to get in those at some point, and we sat there listening to her tell that, and I believe it was Cheek that said that. And Chico was like, he goes, tell him the story about that. And so she told me, and I know Squid was there, but I don't remember if it was him and Chico together had walked her or what the deal was. But anyway, the story was that this guy that she had witnessed this. Don't know what that was. She freaked out and she pulled out and drove out. He didn't follow her, so thank goodness for that. It could have been somebody just with makeup on and was doing it to try to scare her. I mean, you can rationalize things all day long, Another weird story I got, is not people that I worked with downtown or anything like that. This happened to some people in Indianapolis, was it Indianapolis? Or no, this one was in Aurora. And there were two different ones, and this person claims that they were at a stoplight and they look over and this guy goes to scratch his face or touch his face, whatever, and his ear fell off. Okay, that's a weird story, and nothing else really came of it. The lady was just looking over at him going like, what the heck was that? And then he's like looking around for it and picks it up, and he's kind of looking at it and starting to try to put it back on. And, she took off at the light. She's like, I don't know if that counts as paranormal. She's like, I don't know if he had a prosthetic ear. It just looked weird. His ear fell off, and then he just grabbed it and started trying to put it back on. So, what the heck was that? What's going on with that? This guy's ears is, So yeah, I don't know if that's if that counts as paranormal. I did read a story about what I believe Okay, well, let's start from the beginning of what I read. I read a story that there were some people that moved into a neighborhood, and they were basically not normal people. They were like a family, but nobody, like when they would buy groceries, it would be just all meat. And they saw them in the grocery store, and one of the neighbors claimed to have seen them just with a basket full of meat. And I can't remember if this was like a Nick Redfern book. I guess I could ask him if he remembers. He writes about 2 books a year, so he may not even remember it. But I just remember it was like, long story short, they were seen chasing cats around the neighborhood in the middle of the night. Somebody had gotten a package delivered to their house on accident, went to knock on their door. They opened the door. They looked in. They saw like the packages of meat, like just the packages, like strode about like trash. One time, one of them saw the female, which would have been the mom, or pretending to be the mom, with no hair, and she had these weird looking scales on her head. So I don't remember what that's from, but I just remember reading that and going like, that is freaking weird. I wish I could remember what book that was. But yeah, you get a lot of these weird reptilian type stories. And I've been told, by multiple people that, you're not supposed to talk about them. That it's just, you shouldn't talk about them because they're in so many high places. Um, I don't know. We're here talking about it. So I don't know what to make of that. I have heard so many different stories of people, their eyes slitting up. Um, you know, there's stories of a reptilian gene that runs through our bloodline. The devil's often referred to as the dragon. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with Paul Wallace. When we were talking about the, you know what, it might be a David Weatherly book. I need to hit up David and ask him about that. See if he remembers that. If that's a David Weatherly book, let me message him and ask him. That might be, because he could probably tell that story better than me. Yeah, but the whole reptilian thing is just it's a whole, you open up a whole can of worms when you start to talk about that. And I've heard so many stories. Another one I got, a reptilian story, and I'm going to do another show about reptilians. And it gets a lot bigger than just a few little snippets here and there. These are just small ones that won't really make a Friday episode. But there was a friend of mine, and Scorpions, actually. Scorpion, I don't know if you're on the thread, if you, but I know you remember there was a guy that was a friend. I believe he was a friend of yours, and he claimed that somebody was scratching their skin on the bus, and the top layer looked like, I'm not talking about psoriasis. I'm talking about like it was like something happened, and there was like this like scaly looking something underneath that almost looked a greenish gray color or something. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Oh, you know who it was? It was that guy that you didn't like. Scorp knows what I'm talking about. He's named after a cartoon character. But anyway, you probably know what I'm talking about. He told us that story at Chad's at a party. So if you're in the chat, Scorp, Angel Martin, thanks for that. Says, my friend born into a bloodline family saw a hooded reptilian as a guest of honor at her parents' wizard party when she was 4. Oh my gosh. Weird. Yeah. I know that there are a lot of people who believe that there are different types of reptilians. Reptilians that live within the earth, reptilians that came from as extraterrestrial means to Earth. Talking to somebody the other day about this, and I was explaining to them, they said, well, I don't believe that these aliens come from other planets. And I said, well, that may be, that may not be. But the bottom line is they can get here without it, because they said they can't, they wouldn't be able to make it across the galaxies from one galaxy to the next. They don't have to. Okay. They bend space and time. It's hard to even wrap your mind around, but they bend space and time. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is what I told this person the other day. I kind of had an argument with them about it. Ultimately, it led to me beating them up, and then they listened. It's what works for me, folks, okay? Don't judge me. My friend said the other day on his Facebook that, violence, treat yourself. Don't always be the bigger man. Just my buddy Deuce, a former MMA fighter, he said that, and I said, violence used to solve a lot of my problems, but it's not correct. But yeah, I didn't beat this person up in the argument. No, it was actually on Facebook, so I couldn't get to them. But let's do it like this. This piece of paper, okay? This is your galaxy right here, and this is the reptilians. That's where they're from. They don't go on the little spaceship over to your side of the galaxy. They fold it. Boom. And they cross over through a Stargate. Simple as that. How do they do it? I have no idea. I just know that that's the theory. That's what a lot of people believe. Angel goes on to say the thing manifested at the party via some kind of portal. That's crazy. Dick, I'm not understanding what you're saying. Josh, they aren't Spice Gold. What is that? Spice Guild Navigators? Somebody said Clyde Lewis is right. What has Clyde Lewis said? I haven't talked to Clyde Lewis about it, so I don't know. I worked with a guy one time when we were opening up a sporting goods store. I was working for a temp agency just very briefly, and they sent me to you're talking about Dune. Okay, Dick Richards, yeah. There's a really good song by Iron Maiden about Dune. If you ever go back and listen to that. But I worked with a guy who had we worked. I forgot the name of the place. We opened it up. It was like out of Georgia, the company. But it was a sporting goods store, and it didn't last very long. And it was off of Brody. And me and this guy worked together, and he swore up and down that him and his brother had been subjected to, I guess, physical abuse for years from their mother's boyfriend, who they swore up and down, or he swore up and down, whose eyes would change into like what he called cat eyes, and that his skin would turn almost like scales when he would get angry, in certain parts of his body, like his chest and his arms. And, I was a youngster when he told me that. I mean, I was young. And so I just thought, oh, that's weird, man. And it started because we were talking about the thing that I had seen when I was 15 that looked like a werewolf. And he started talking about that. And then he claimed that he met this guy's cousin, and this person's cousin stayed at their house. I remember this story too. It's not a real long one, but he said that the cousin stayed at the house for a couple days, and that he had gone up to use the bathroom, and he could see down the hallway. Okay, this is creepy. He could see down the hallway this person's eye, like you see like two eyes, like yellow eyes, and they moved up, like somebody was laying down. They moved their head up, and they looked at them down the hallway. and all he could see were two yellow glowing eyes. And that was his mother's boyfriend's family member, cousin, or whatever they claimed it was. Glowing yellow eyes. And he said that all they ever ate was meat, which is weird, too. I mean, it's like I try to have a balanced diet. You know, I eat my grains and vegetables and meat and whatever and fruit and you know, not to be silly or sound like I'm trying to teach you the food pyramid. I'm just saying that I eat quite a bit of vegetables and different types of things. I'm an omnivore for sure. But he said that this person would only eat like meat and very little bread, if anything. I remember him saying that they both ate meat all the time, you know. And he was kind of having the conversation with another guy, and I just kind of eavesdropped, and then we started talking about it, and then me and that guy became friends, and then we actually worked security together. Like years later, we ended up running into each other at another company, and I remember asking him about that, you know, and he seemed kind of reluctant to talk about it, but he did give me a few little things, you know, here, you know, but it wasn't really nothing that I could put on a show that, you know, it was a paranormal potluck. Maybe it's very short, but I figured I could start putting a lot of the little short stories on to the live stream, and people can just call in, or I can call you, and we can just tell the stories. If you're just joining us, I had a friend on and he works for a very large company, and he's been working for him for a few years, and he saw one of the executive big shots skin look very much like a reptile, and that kind of touched off the whole subject. Let me tell you, working downtown though, you hear stories of little people, ghosts, vampires, just you name it, dude. I mean, there's so many weird things you hear about. And don't forget, this Friday's show is going to be about Bigfoot and ghosts. Got a question for you folks, my loyal fans. Me and Barton talked about this. Him and my friends that I BS with through the week, they give me ideas, trying to control me, trying to tell me how to do my show. You ain't gonna run me, Barton. I'm just kidding. You know, I'm your friend Barton. Gave me a suggestion. Now you tell me what you think of this. I thought maybe we flip it. Maybe we start doing the live streams on a Friday, and then we release the regular show where the subject is like one subject, and you get the meat of that on Tuesdays. How would you guys feel about that? Nobody's going to answer me. Somebody said, do it. The Roxy Starscream. Starscream, what's up, buddy? I didn't see you in the chat room. Starscream was an old friend of mine who worked for us for years, one of our brothers from way back in the old days. Starscream, you got some weird stories too. Now, you know how weird everything was back then. Oh my gosh. If you'd like to have me call you, Scream, and you can tell them about the weird thing that ran into the water. So that's a good one. Now, Scorpion, I just saw you pop up. Do you remember your friend telling us about the guy's skin being greenish pink or greenish gray? He said it was like in the summertime, it was hot. We got to get Squid on here too, because he was around during that whole reptilian dude, whatever that was, whatever that guy was. It was just weird. My thinking and Barton's thinking when he suggested that I move the show, the live streams to Friday, was that we could go later into the night and not have anybody interrupt. I mean, or not have to end it early, because people, we could start a little later and we could go later. People could stay up later and watch the whole thing. I'm getting a phone call here. Ken, if you're listening, Ken Mullins, I will call you back. Let me hit you up.
Hello.
Ken.
Hey, how's it going, Josh?
How's it going? This is Ken Mullins, everyone. We actually ended up doing he sat in with me after last week. He sat in with me on the show that dropped on Saturday. And if anybody was listening, I believe I talked about it on the show, but I had a really weird thing. Last weekend's the feed went out. The electricity went out. So we lost the internet connection. And then I ended up like calling Ken back. I don't remember exactly what happened, but you ended up doing the Saturday, what would have been the Friday show, but became the Saturday show. And it was about the Brazilian exorcist. And we had a weird thing happen in the office. Me and Anthony heard something moving around, and like there's two offices in a big reception area right here. And we are actually in the studio part of the office, and we heard really weird sounds, like somebody was moving around and almost like a popping, crunching noise that was going on, and we couldn't figure out what it was. And then one time that happened to me and my wife when we were here, but she heard it, more than I did. But that night it was very clear. And so, Ken, you ended up doing the show with us.
Yeah.
And so you were going to call back today, and
I was going to tell you some of that story. Well, a little bit of the history of this experience that I had. That a little bit that leads up to it, and then the actual experience of a former friend of mine becoming fully possessed. And I had, kind of laid out a couple of peculiar things that happened. I met this guy. We were close to the same age, and I met this guy when I was living in Destin, Florida. And we met at a Jehovah's Witness get together on the beach. He wasn't there immediately. His mother had called him and said, "Hey, there's this guy here, and he plays music. He records music," which is what I did a lot of at the time. And he happened to have kind of a studio kind of set up, like in his room. So I started to record my first songs there, and and we started getting rapport together. He was an artist. He was into music. And he had all these strange stories that he would tell of his family's like history when it comes to demons and demonic experiences that he had. There's this one experience he relayed where a demon would follow him up and down the street, supposedly turning off and on the street lamps. And of course, I wasn't there. I have no way to verify any of it, but that's what he told me, and I certainly did believe that he believed it. Um, he had an extensive knowledge of being able to manipulate people. I found, and when as I spent more time with him, I certainly felt for how he was raised. His father was in the military, and his mother was just an abusive woman. And his father
Mm.
had several girlfriends, uh, and I would be sitting there. We'd be driving around, and I'd firsthand hear his mother swear at him, calling him a stupid bastard, and things I'm certainly
What?
not going to repeat
Don't say them.
here
Don't
on the
say them.
stream.
Yeah, please don't.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah. I guess I don't know if I would consider that a curse word or not, but yeah, I'll stay clear of all that. But yeah, he was just highly abused, and something within witness culture, Jehovah's Witness culture, is a fear of the demonic. It isn't uncommon for people to hear a scratch on the wall or hear anything and automatically they'll think that it's demonic. Um, so in this case, um, he was using that to a high degree to try and convince me of supernatural happenings. Um, like for instance, when we first got together and first started hanging out, he gave me this box that he bought, and it was like this type of chest, and it had these lions heads that were on the front of the box. And when my parents and I were first moving into the area, we settled there for a little bit, and we were trying to find, a place that we could stay permanently. And the side of the property that we ended up picking out and living in was an exact replica of the box that he gave me.
Mm.
It was on the hitch of a trailer that was beside our house that we had just bought. And that is kind of strange. And I wouldn't put it past them to go ahead and place something there, but these weird things happen all the time, especially with him and my experiences with him. Um, so as I get to know him, as I said, his penchant for manipulation was really strong. He couldn't keep up with a lot of his lies that he was giving. He introduced me to the idea of homeopathic remedies and things like that. Um, for instance, the use of certain fragrances to help you sleep at night, that sort of thing. Well, later on, maybe a year later, I guess he had forgotten he had told me all this, and he was explaining how that these fragrances, when absorbed to the human skin, it basically works as um, as estrogen, like an estrogen mimicker, I guess
Mm.
is the term that you would use. And in the last month that I knew him, that I invited him over, um, he had soaked my hat in this estrogen mimicker. It was a scent, but he was using lavender. But by then, I had done all my research and I had discovered a lot of things about this guy. Um, he would manipulate his girlfriends, and that seems to be a commonality whenever it comes to anything of the supernatural or people who are influenced by the supernatural. That they're highly controlling people, very controlling people, and it's a fear of the unknown that they have. Um, so I had been at this point. Um, I had been diagnosed as having CPTSD, which is complicated. post-traumatic stress disorder. And I had just started doing uh, EMDR therapy. And he was trying his best to get me away from doing EMDR therapy, which is actually the remedy to trauma. It's one of the remedies to trauma. It takes away any of the sense sense like like smell, sight, hearing, olfactory type of recollection away from a memory that you hold. That way, whenever you in the present, it's not going to remind you of those horrible memories that you have, that you hold in your brain, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He was fighting against me having this. He was like trying to tell me that, oh, that sounds demonic. That practice sounds like you're going to end up letting a demon in your head. Is what he was saying. And I'm like, there's absolutely no evidence of that. So, and I just asked him directly, like, why would, I'm not superstitious. Why would you want to use well this background knowledge of me to try and scare me into not having therapy?
Mm-hmm.
And he played it up and he tried to reconcile, but it was just so far gone. So I was prescribed this medication that is supposed to help with night terrors and nightmares, and it's called Prozozin, and it is a medication basically that suppresses alpha waves so that you get a really good night's sleep. And yeah, it's for sleep. Now it doesn't make you go to sleep or anything like that, but and there are some other medications too, and he wanted to try it for himself, and I'm like, that's fine. And he would begin to basically, I don't know if he was putting on or not, but it looked to me like he was going into trance, and he came up with all these different voices as though he were someone completely different. You could make the argument that this was something related to DID, or a dissociative identity disorder, and which is common with abuse. In fact, this is what they used for the MK Ultra experiments. Whenever they would try to dissociate someone to have a better hold on this person's life. I'm sorry, my puppy is distracting me. Chill out, puppy. Chill out, Tony. Anyway, so he began speaking in these different voices, and they would switch constantly. And one night, we were just hanging out, and I think I was playing on the guitar, and his voice completely changes, and he does this strange type of dance. He's basically dancing in front of me, and he's like popping and locking his whole body, and it almost looks like a popping and locking his body at such a fine degree that it looks reptilian. It looks like he's slithering, is what it looks like.
I want to be able to pop and lock like that.
And
I can do the Cabbage Patch.
I haven't seen the Cabbage Patch. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Mm-hmm.
What is the Cabbage Patch?
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll show everybody.
Yeah, okay, I'm looking at a delayed feed.
That's the Cabbage Patch, folks. I can actually dance okay. I'm not great. I'm not bragging, but
You've been around.
My buddy Willie used to go after hours. We'd go to this place called the Grottos, and he would break dance, and we'd all go over there and watch him. And they'd have these little contests, and they'd do like these little dance offs, and it was after hours. So when we get off from our bar, we'd go over there to 5th Street, And Abrados would have these little dance offs, and people would throw money out there, and they'd have the dance contest, and people would vote, and then you'd get the money. And Willie would go over there, and he'd make $200 or $300 every Saturday. He's the best dancer I ever knew. And I would just
Wow.
stand there and be like, "Oh, cool," it's kind of his thing, And so, but anyway, we're getting off track here. So this guy was popping and locking, and it was the way he was doing was rhythmic, kind of like a reptilian. You said.
Well, he was moving as though he had 100 more extra bones.
Oh, that's weird.
His body was moving in such a stop frame animated type of way that it didn't look natural.
So
didn't
naturally
look human.
So naturally, you grabbed the nearest blunt object and began to hit him with it until he left your house.
Well,
No?
I sat
No?
down and
That's what I would.
no,
That's weird.
right,
That's what I
right.
would have done. I don't know. To each his own.
Well, I was thinking to myself, okay, what is he doing? I haven't seen him, get out. He's had stories from whenever he lived in Texas that he would go out to the club and dance and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing?
What part of Texas?
So, Fort Worth. He was in Fort Worth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's a whole other story with all kinds of details that are not appropriate for your feed at the time.
Yeah, let's keep it to the pop and lock and reptile. So
this, yeah, he looked like he was dancing in this way. That looked more like a slither. It looked like like a shudder type of slither that he was doing. And so he sat down, and so I went back to because I was playing the guitar, and I guess he was like kind of doing this to the rhythm of this guitar that I was playing. And
somebody said you can't beat up a dude for just popping and locking. Yeah, you can if they're not doing it right, or if it's offending you and you're like, you're trying to enjoy your trip. But that was back in the 90s. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, it definitely turned into a trip. I out of the corner of my eye, I saw basically the air around him starting to darken. Almost like there was a whole shadow over him. It was really dark over his entire body. He ended up turning this. It was from dark to this kind of like this green hue that was over his face, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, his face morphed. His whole face changed and morphed to this wicked grin, and his eyes. I was listening to your feed earlier, just about 20 or 30 minutes, and this is a case where he had the slits for eyes, this serpentine look, this cat eye look. It's the same difference, and
it's the same thing.
Yeah, and he began to purr. It sounded like purring, not like a cat purrs exactly, but like like this sound that you hear. Now I've heard this sound before on whenever there are a couple of cases where possessed people had called into radio shows, and it was the exact same sound, and there was no doubt on what was going on in my mind. And what was happening was that his face would shift to each different faces with different animalistic sometimes characteristics that it appeared as though he was shape-shifting. And as I look back on it, on the situation, his actual face wasn't shape-shifting. What was happening was, I believe, these demons or whatever he had invited into his body somehow, doing what it is that he does, they were fighting over his body, and they were pushing the next one out and entering it. And for me, I can't think of anything more disgusting than that. Like something more gross than having some disgusting entity enter your body. But for me, that's really gross. So this this went on for it's really hard to tell because at this point it felt as though I was experiencing time dilation. Um, I couldn't hear anything, but I could see, and I was trying my best to move away from him because he was on the opposite end of the couch. I was sitting on one side of the couch, and he was on the other. And I was exerting myself to try and get off of this couch and to move. There are places in the Bible where people who have met basically angels who they describe them as having copper legs and having this fierce countenance that they're able to basically freeze you. And some of these characters in the Bible would just freeze, and they would just pass out because they were so scared. That was the type of because I don't believe that I was experiencing any sort of presence of, like, say, a fallen angel, like an actual fallen angel. But I believe I was witnessing something similar, and it certainly felt powerful. And I was finally able to get myself on the floor, kind of crab walking backwards in order to try and get away from him because it was so scary. I can't describe how scary it was. And for months and years after that, like, I had to work through therapy. He finally came to. All of that nonsense stopped, and he firmly grabbed my hand and pulled me up to him. And he said, listen, man, I'm sorry. I'll never do that again, is what he said.
Like he had control of it.
Yeah, like he could control what he was doing, basically. There's something to be said of the evil eye, giving someone the evil eye, or focusing in a way that you're psychically hurting someone.
Well, I think what you should have done in that situation is the running man. And, you could either use it to establish dominance really quickly and then run out the door with it. That's what I've.
Right.
Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have done the running man out the door. I would have been done with this guy. I mean, if you're not going to hit him with a blunt object, then just bail. I would have just been like, bye, see ya, I'm bailing. That's crazy.
Yeah, any sort of dance move I could have executed quickly went out the window. It was so hard for me to even have a grasp of what just happened. It was that scary. And and after this, I never really talked to him again. Like, I think I left to get out of town to go to my brother, who was living with his wife in Birmingham. And I really liked the idea of this, of living in the mountains, because, I was so messed up as a Jehovah's Witness, because I had stopped. I didn't have a real good idea as to what was possible spiritually. And, I felt like, well, if he's able to somehow supernaturally connect to me or try to, because he certainly tried to make me believe, as though he could, that there would be interference with mountains, basically, and that sort of thing.
Wow.
And I was so scrambled from living my entire life as a Jehovah's Witness, and Armageddon was always 2 or 3 years away for us. So I wasn't encouraged to go to high school, to finish high school. I wasn't encouraged to go to college. there were several times they wanted me to join the swim team and the track team. So I would have had a free ride if I really worked for it. So I, you know, and this was later on in life, that I really started waking up. And even then, I wasn't fully awake to the Jehovah's Witness indoctrination. I was just partially awake to it. I always felt like it was wrong, but I also felt like maybe there was just something wrong with me that I didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so there was another important supernatural, what I believe is a supernatural event happening before this. Before this showdown where he pop and locked it with a bunch of demons. He ended up trying to distract me in a lot of different ways, and I since was able to figure out that this was his way of just gaining control of any sort of conversation or any sort of creativity endeavor, which is sad. It's very sad, very pathetic. um, I would be playing music, and he would try to interrupt me, and he would try to, influence me that way. So I had done an EMDR session, and which again he was very much against. And I walked outside, and I was sitting out there, and I heard something that sounded like talking, and I really wasn't for sure what I was hearing. For a second, I thought that he was talking, and I could just hear him through the wall, but that wasn't the case. What I ended up hearing was, as I understand it now, was an analogy, basically.
Yeah. I'm sorry for laughing. Somebody made a comment there.
Oh, geez. Yeah,
Somebody said,
I'll read
so
back
are we
when-
saying demons settle disputes with dance songs? No,
I
it's like
think,
it's like
I think they
Zoolander.
might.
Yeah, they're breakdance fighting. No,
Yeah.
people don't understand though that music and is vibration, sound is vibration, and I
Oh, for
think very
sure.
much a part of what they do. I'm going to say something here, folks, and you guys may think this is wrong or right or whatever, but low-level entities are attracted to low-level frequencies. Okay, bass. You know how it's real popular for the bass music. That is a very low-level sound. I mean, you're looking at it's weird because it's a very bass level sound. I mean, it's and it's called bass. That particular sound is often used in rituals from those that are indigenous peoples in different societies, from Africa to North America, South America. Drum beats are used to summon dark spirits, demonic entities. They're attracted to the sound of these low level, and then of course pop music is very popular. The bass sound is very a big, very potent part of pop music. Let's put it that way. So
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and I think that it's on purpose that all the pop music today has that sine wave bass, 808 bass sort of sound to it, mixed with the subject matter they're rapping and singing about.
mm-hmm.
It really ends up laying a type of substrate that I think spirits are able to then influence, and to wrap their tendrils around, however you want to say it. But I think it makes a type of atmosphere that they can easily wade through. So this type of talking that I was I was hearing speech basically, and at the last little bit, I was about to get up and just go back into the house when it was suddenly very clear what was said to me as I was getting up. What was said to me, they whatever this thing was, it said, "Hey, before you get up, let me ask you something. Do you see what I did there?" That's the amount of all of what I could gather of what it said. It could have said something slightly different, but that's what I understood it to say. And it made complete sense to me right then and there. That basically it was giving me an analogy of what was happening between me and this guy. That I would start in on, whatever subject I was going to talk about, and he would interrupt it, and then I guess distract me enough to say whatever or do whatever it was that he was wanting to do, to either try and one up me or whatever through his I guess you would call it he was very self-conscious about himself around normal people. So it just turned into this thing to where it was like he was like trying to have some type of entertaining show or something like that, and he wanted to be entertaining, and it never was. It was just creepy. Um, so when this was relayed to me, and I apologize that I'm unable to really make it any more illicit or make it sound any more descriptive than I can at the moment. But this is really, the experience of what happened to me was just as real as if we're speaking right now today. It was just that vivid, and I fully believe that this was either. I believed it was some type of spirit creature. I don't know that it was an angel. I'm not claiming that. I'm not claiming that it was a demon. But something was said to me from some type of entity, and to expose what this guy was doing. And after that, my entire life changed from then on. And actually, just for the better. I mean, my life was was in such shambles back then, in such darkness, and just being lost. Our spiritual conversation stopped. All of our conversations stopped, and life just got better. And it's amazing how that when you make people exit your life who are negative or toxic in any sort of way, how much better you're going to be, really. And I mean, I know you know that firsthand from flushing out different characters from bringing you down in your podcast and your show, and everybody at home right now listening in, they all have their own stories of the exact same thing. I'm sure, and if not yet, I mean, will. And when they're able to break that bond, their life is just gonna, be so much better. Coming out of the Jehovah's Witness world, it's been quite a process. My family are still in the cult, and it's very hard to look at them the same, because for me and you and a lot of the people reading or listening in, it should be so entirely obvious that this is a cult. But for them, that's an unreasonable thought. In fact, this, what we're talking about now is entirely rejected and unreasonable thinking. Any sort of independent thinking or any sort of what's the word? I've had a long day. I've been working up on my dad's roof.
Your roof. You were showing me.
Yeah, so I was just trying to finish up some things there today, and
looked like pretty good work too.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I was going to have you come to Texas and help do the roof on my house, and we can have a dance off. You can see.
Well, as long as you don't have any wolf spirit entities, coming and wanting to do the jackal or
Yeah, yeah. Or dislocate my jaw and go, ah. Yeah, my
yeah,
jaw actually does dislocate from boxing. So I have a friend of mine who literally his girlfriend could literally pull her jaw forward and down. It was so freaky looking, dude. And I thought that has to be some sort of snake. I don't know what that is. She
yeah.
claimed
There's a
she.
C channel in the jaw. There's a C channel that your jaw kind of follows,
Mhm.
and which this also helps you create different sorts of notes and frequencies in your mouth to become a better singer, basically. But go ahead. So what about her?
No, it was just that. That was it. I mean, I met her one time and I was all like, ugh, and then they split up, and we didn't ever have to deal with her again. She was really weird. She was just really weird.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
in
that's
my
all for the
life,
better.
working downtown too, like an international hotspot, it's like 300 and something clubs and bars all right there in one spot. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, entertainment district in entire North America. And you sit there and you deal with all kinds of weird people from all over the place. And I swear, like what I was talking about earlier, I don't swear, I'm supposed to swear, but I'm telling you, and when my friend was on here earlier, you see and meet and run into all kinds of very odd individuals. And I've sat there at the front door of our club and just watched people walk by on 6th Street and go, that's not a human being. That's
Right.
that's not a human
Yeah.
being. It does not look like it. This doesn't look like a human being to me. They look like, I don't know, like reptiles or aliens or something, dude. I've seen people on the dance floor, and there's contortionists, I mean, there's, people who can do weird things, but I've seen people who I've gone into the club for 2 years, never saw them do anything weird, and all of a sudden they're doing weird motions and things that doesn't make any sense, like they're being possessed. You know what I mean? Like they take something, and next thing you know, they're dancing like some sort of weird. It looks like a ritual or something. And I think a lot of the
Yeah.
music
That.
now is designed for that, and I think that's what it is. And it's
Yeah.
it's designed to
Uh-huh.
get attachments, and I just
Yes.
so
Yeah. I don't know if I guess you'd call it the charismatic movement. They're called holy rollers because they lose control of their body and they start to roll.
hmm
They just roll around, and this is their body. I don't know. I guess the spirit taking hold of the body and making it do this. And I fully agree with what you're saying about the music scene. I mean, there's so many rabbit holes you can go down that just directly tell you at point blank different ways to reach the spirits and have them sing and speak and dance through you.
yeah,
And I mean, this is you can look it up on YouTube about Loretta Lynn. Um, how that she believed that her dead cousin, who was a singer, now sings through her. And
yeah,
anytime she's walked up on stage, that's been the case. And so it is with all of these other musicians and artists. Um, all of them say that that they become possessed by a spirit and something comes over them. They don't know what happens, but it happens when they're on stage, and they're able to give a performance that they normally would not be able to do without this sensation running through their body.
yeah. That's crazy.
And it's you could probably just pick out any of the top artists, and I'm sure you could probably find an interview with them claiming just there are specific YouTube videos right now out there, I know for a fact, that cover like 30, 40 artists who all have their quotes in the video, and they're talking about this.
That's crazy. And there was somebody else, and Nellie, if you're listening at home, she told me this story the other day about someone else who claims that somebody sings through her. I know my wife's watching the live stream.
Hmm.
she told me about somebody who claims that they don't sing, that somebody else sings through them. You hear that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's weird.
Yeah, I believe her. I mean, I don't have any reason not to. All of the evidence is pointing to that.
Yeah.
And simply those who are not aware of it, they just haven't done their homework on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm in the process of making my rap album. I don't know if you guys will be ready for it when I drop those hot tracks. And it's going to have me gyrating in all kinds of different weird positions.
Hey, I'm certainly ready to help you produce some beats if you want.
No, I don't need any sick beats, bro. I'm good. I'm good. So yeah, that's pretty crazy, dude. I mean, it's like I have, you know, I'll be real honest. Like I used to listen to some pretty dark music. I was always a Slayer fan for years, and then then you started, you know, when I was young, and I started looking at the lyrics and the artwork, and kind of going like, some of it's pretty cool, like the, you know, the beats and the music and all that, but it's obviously it's pretty rough. I mean, you know, it's not. It's like my friend, my late friend Roger said. He goes, when I listen to Slayer, I feel like negative, 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 negative. You know, and it's like, and so you know, yeah, and you have to be in the mood, kind of in the mood for that, you know, kind of thing. I used to listen to it when I wanted to get pumped up to go and fight or do things, you know. I would listen to that kind of music, you know, and but you know, you can listen to certain types of music and it'll put you in a certain mood. It'll get you pumped up to fight, or it can bring you peace. It can bring you harmony. It just depends. I mean, music is a very powerful thing, and it is a very and of course a lot of Christians and Muslims will tell you, and a Buddhist too, that you know those beats and that you know whatever that vibration has a very very powerful effect on our bodies. And not just spiritually, because the spirit is connected to the body, and it'll, you know, it creates a like I don't know how you say it, like it can put you in a vulnerable position for, if not demonic possession, at least obsession. What I mean by that is influence from something that's potentially evil. So that's the thing with that. People don't realize that that's what that does. So Ken, I'm gonna let you run. I appreciate you coming on the show once again and talking. Are you there, Ken? Ken, we've lost Ken. The Angel Martin, Dead Skin Mask by Slayer. That song, Dead Skin Mask, is actually about Ed Gein. That's what that song is about. And they did another one, I think, called 213, which was by Jeffrey Dahmer. So go figure. I mean, that's the kind of music that's what you're dealing with right there. Yeah, and I believe it was Beyonce. There's somebody said it right there too. You know, that my wife was talking about. She claims that somebody sings through her or whatever. Baby, I can see your halo. Yeah, well, is that really what you're seeing, or is it horns? I don't know. But yeah, that's what you're dealing with with some of this music. It's like there's no telling what kind of, like, you know, and there's always the theories that a lot of people get their contracts and things through some sort of, you know, dealings with netherworld type entities or, you know, whatever. So Ken, appreciate you coming on. All right, okay, he's calling back. Let's see. Hey Ken, I guess I lost you. I didn't know what was going on there.
Sorry about that. Well, there's just one more part of that story. I didn't know if you wanted me to cover or not about this, about seeing the seal.
Mm-hmm.
This, I don't know if I can be heard or not, but it was basically an image was put into my mind, in my mental eye, I could see this sigil, which later on I figured out that it's a sigil that I can draw down in order to contact a spirit if I wanted to. This was verified after meeting a man through various circumstances who admitted to me that he was, a medium of some sort. And he told me, well, if I were to try and get back in contact with him, I said, well, I could just give you my number, I guess. He says, no, we're not going to do it that way. He went to he pulled out this Bible and showed me a character in the Bible. And he said, notice this, it looks like a person with a top hat on, and this person has a backpack. Now, and he didn't give me any other instructions other than that. He said, this is how you can reach me. So at this point, I'm realizing this is a spirit telling me to draw this sigil to come in contact with it if I wish to have contact. So yeah, that was basically the what tied that last little bit together. Are you still there, Josh?
Yeah, I'm listening right here.
Yeah. And that was basically it. If I were to draw this symbol down, I would be able to somehow or another get in contact with this spirit.
Well, don't do
it. Oh, of course not. No,
yeah,
no.
I was gonna say, don't do it.
Absolutely not.
Let's keep all that.
No, and I would encourage anybody else not to, I mean, like, I don't find that fascinating. I don't find it seductive or interesting at all. It seems pretty it seems like a pretty poisoned promise. Mm-hmm. I don't need any help ruining my life. My life is it's good the way it is. Really, I think to fight these forces that we find is through prayer and personal supplication to God through Christ. I think is really what is the only thing that has helped me, and it has, and it massively has. I prayed for my eyes to be open, and I prayed to the same Father, Jesus Christ, prayed to himself. He called him Abba, which is an endearing term for father or daddy, basically. So I just hope that through Holy Spirit, I keep learning things as I need to learn them. And,
well, the thing you were saying about the music, I mean, that if anybody goes back and they, I don't know if my brother's on the chat, but he's talked about this. The guy, the famous musician who made the deal with the devil at the crossroads.
Yeah, Johnson.
Yeah, that's who it was. My brother was talking about that just the other day. And there's a very good book called The Hellhounds on Their Trail, I believe it was. Stories of rock and roll legends. The guy was on Coast to Coast, and I just remember listening to Coast to Coast, and then I ordered the book and I read it, and it was pretty cool. My wife read it. Can't remember the name of the book exactly. Honey, if you're listening on the show, you can maybe tell me what the name of that book was. You read it. And then the number 27 and how so many of the musicians die at the age of 27. It's like a weird thing, yeah. The number 9 coming up over and over again because 2 + 7 = 9. And then, and one day I was on the show talking about this, so yeah, Robert Johnson, that's who it was. He went to the crossroads. A weird thing happened to Anthony one time at the crossroads. That's my nephew who's always in the studio. He's actually in the office doing we had payroll, so he's been working on that. But a weird thing happened to him when he came up to a crossroads one time. He stopped at a stop sign, a 4-way stop outside of my hometown, which is very weird. You got a lot of weird stuff around there. And one of the stop signs just began to shake violently by it, just on its own, just began to shake by itself, just shaking. And there's 3 other stop signs and they're not shaking. It's just the one where he was at. And he said it freaked him
Wow.
out. It was always like a weird thing. I know that crossroads where he's talking about, and I've always thought it was kind of a creepy spot. You know, who knows? But anyways, Ken, I appreciate having you on, and I thank you for
Sure,
telling
sure.
us your story and getting it. Look at that. Now we got 333. That equals 9 too. That's weird. So,
Hey, that's
anyways,
on you.
do what?
I said, hey, that's on you.
Yeah, it's right there. 333 listeners. But I appreciate you coming in, stopping by, and I'm gonna let you run. And I appreciate your talk. And anytime you want to give me a chat, give me a holler. And thanks for
Yeah,
standing in and being my co-host for that last episode. That was pretty cool. And
it
giving me
was.
your
Yeah,
insight. And thank you for being a part of the show.
absolutely. I appreciate it. I have a few things I could tell you about. But I mean, not for tonight or any time. But uh, there's a time when me and my girlfriend we saw one of those silent triangle crabs. That was really bizarre. And I have some other things that I can tell you about my grandmother's history, how she grew up with a mountain witch in her family,
Oh yeah,
and
Granny Witch.
granny witch, yeah,
Uh-huh.
in her family.
Oh yeah.
And maybe we can chew it up over that.
Dude,
And
yeah, that'd be cool.
I
Actually, because I
appreciate it.
was just talking to Bart Nunley. Me and him were just having a long conversation the other night about that, about the Granny Witch, because that is, he lives up in those hills, and,
Yeah,
and and it's just very common theme. And anyways,
yeah.
there was a guy that real long story short that I'm going to cover eventually, but it was a chupacabra. I was telling him about the chupacabra story that I got not too long ago, and this guy that was up in the Appalachians had a very similar story, and there was another one from Puerto Rico, and they all were kind of the very similar vein. And people would use these faith healers and these granny witches to cast out devils,
Mhm.
and there's all kinds of weird stuff up there in the Appalachians. But yeah, there was a story that was it kind of mirrored another story, and we got into the whole granny witch thing, and yeah, you go down the rabbit hole, and one subject leads to another, and you're just kind of like,
They really do. They really
floating on the
do.
sea of
I mean,
weird.
yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. And you certainly have a good platform for it. That it isn't just you're not a one trick pony, as you like to say.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah, we
I,
try to talk about, because it's all related. I mean, it's all
it,
interrelated, you know.
it's a deep subject,
Hmm.
and it covers a lot of things. So,
Yeah,
but
and
yeah, I'll go ahead.
yeah, no, we'll get together, and maybe we can do a Friday show, another one, and it'll just be you can talk about your stuff with that Granny Witch. Maybe we can do another show together, because I definitely have some stuff about that. Got a show that I'm working on about spiders in these Appalachian caves, and some of the things me and Barton were talking about. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna let you run, and I appreciate
All
you
right, man.
coming on. And we left meat on the bone for you to come back. And so definitely, guys, Ken Mullins, guys, everybody, he's a really good guy, and definitely enjoyed having him as a co-host. Very insightful, very intelligent, and everybody, Ken Mullins. All right, Ken, I'm gonna let you run, man.
All right. Good night, everybody. I'll
Yeah.
see you around.
Good night, man.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye. So I don't know, guys. We're talking about all kinds of weird stuff, reptilians, and just all kinds of weird stuff tonight. How's everybody enjoying the show so far? Oh. Yeah, Ken is a really good guy. I like him. I know a lot of good Kens. I know a lot. There's a lot of Kens. My dad's first cousin's husband's name is Kenneth, and his son's name is Ken. He's my cousin, and he's a good guy. And of course, there's Ken Gerhard, and there's a lot of Kens that I'm good friends with. But so me and Lyle Blackburn have been going back and forth. Okay. And we are talking about seriously how we're going to do this action figure thing. So I want your input. You people are my fan base. You're my base. You let me know what you want. Do you want do you guys want certain people to be action figures in this cryptid thing that we're doing? Because it looks like Lyle and me are going to be partnering up. Lyle Blackburn, couldn't ask for a better guy to do that with. His figure was done. I don't know if y'all saw it or not. It's a prototype. It looks pretty good. My figure was done. Before it's all done, we're going to do several different cryptids too. He's working. Charlie is currently working on Ken's action figure. Ken's complaint was that they put my head on his body. So you can, that's what his complaint was. So I was like, wow, really, Ken? I know you're much bigger, stronger, and buffer than me, but come on, dude. I mean, let me have something. Give me something. So Ken was just like, yeah, I like it, but they put your head on my body. Ken has definitely he's been out running around doing everything. He is like, I think he's like in Oregon now or something. He was like in California, he was in Michigan, he's Oregon, and he's got some other, I don't know, or maybe he was in Wisconsin. I don't know. He's been running all over the place. So he hasn't been home much, but I know when he comes back to San Antonio, I'm going to head down there and harass him. Got to take him out to dinner. Got to do something. We are practically family with me and Nick Redfern and Ken Gerhardt, David Weatherly. I mean, the big four. I call those the big four because they're all from Texas too. David, Ken, Lyle, and Nick are very good friends of mine, and they are along with Barton Nunley, Lon. These guys, they are the authors. Linda Godfrey, they are the best authors out there when it comes to the paranormal. If you want to read about cryptids and about any of this stuff, they are the people to talk to listen to. Great guys. Anytime I call them up, I can consult with them about anything. They give me information. They help me. They've been very forthcoming, and I just couldn't ask for a better group of guys to be associated with. And I'm proud to say that I am friends with those guys. And so anytime I ever need anything, they come through. And Nick is to come. And me and him talked a couple hours the other night, and he's going to help me write my book, because that's one thing I want to do is write a book, and I want to write it. I figured my first book would be about the Dogman, because if I ever do another book, that because that's my wheelhouse that I began with, at least as far as going into podcasting, it was the springboard was from that subject. So here we're going to call another person. So guys, here we go. We're going to call another person, and he's going to talk about something really quickly. So let me get this person on here. See if I can get through. Hello?
Josh, what's up, man?
Hey, David. Ladies and gentlemen, David Weatherly. So what I messaged you about was we were talking about reptilians. We were talking about, I had a guy come on the show, he's a friend of mine, and he told a story about an executive from a large company that he works for. He couldn't say the name of it, but it's a company he works for, and he works nights at a friend of mine's restaurant, Spinners, over here in Austin. And so he told the story of this guy that he pulled down his collar and he saw like reptilian looking flesh on his neck, and it really freaked him out. And they were in the elevator together, so he's trying to ignore it. So anyway, he told that story, and so then we kind of went down the rabbit hole, and we started talking about reptilians and the people seeing different things like that, and I was reminded of a story that I had read about a family that had moved into a neighborhood, and they had, obviously to me, the conclusion was that that's what they were. And so somebody had, I couldn't remember who it was that wrote it, and it's shame on me for that because I've read your books, I've read Strange Intruders, and I'm going like, where did I read this from? But I read so much stuff, and I get so many stories that it's hard to process it all. And so somebody said, that's David Weatherly. I'm like, oh, God, it's David. Okay, absolutely. Strange Intruders. In fact, right here in my office, I have several signed copies of your books in there. And I should know better. So then that's when I hit you up and I said, hey, what's going on? Can you jump on for a minute? So, folks, this is David Weatherly. It's one of the big four. I call you, Nick Redfern, Lyle Blackburn, and Ken Gerhardt the big four when it comes to the big Texas four, So you wrote Strange Intruders, and in that book, you talk about a story, and I don't remember all the details. Can you enlighten me?
Yeah, sure. And I'll give you kind of a condensed version of it. That I actually get a lot of questions about that account just because it's so bizarre. Mm-hmm. And I dubbed it, I called them the snakeheads, just because of something that, the person recounting it to me had said. And the account came from a gentleman in Ohio. And he had moved into a rural neighborhood, bought a house, and it was a fairly typical working class neighborhood. His next door neighbor, he would talk to this guy sometime, but they really had nothing in common because this gentleman, his name's John, was a computer expert, and that's what he did for a living. And like I said, most of his neighbors were more blue collar, plumbers and electricians and things like that. But what happened was when he was looking in the neighborhood, he had been told about a house that was a few doors down from his, and it was a ranch-style house that his realtor told him, oh, you can probably buy that one really cheap. And when he inquired why, she said, well, the previous owners had been foreclosed on, and they really tore up the inside of the house. So they had punched holes in the walls and ripped parts of the flooring up and all kinds of things. So John wasn't interested in something like that because he didn't want that amount of work. So he passed on it, and he lived in the area for a little while, and then he noticed that someone had suddenly moved into this house, and they just up and moved in. He didn't see any work going on there, and he calls himself curious. He's one of those guys that kind of, some would call him nosy. He just likes to watch what's going on in his neighborhood. So he noticed that these people had suddenly moved in. No work was being done on the house or anything else, and he thought it was kind of odd. And his neighbor, who was a plumber, told him that he had stopped by to introduce himself and say, hey, if you need any help, I have a plumbing business, if there's anything I can do. And the people who had moved into the home wouldn't even speak to him, basically. They just said, nothing needs done here. And this guy had sort of gotten a glimpse inside the house and saw that there were just some mattresses on the floor, and that's what they appeared to be sleeping on. Nothing else in the home at the time. So this gentleman, John, who's recounting the whole thing to me, a couple of the highlights are that at one point, his neighbor's wife encountered the woman who lived in this house, and she was outside chasing one of the neighborhood cats. And I know you mentioned you remember this in particular. So this woman was chasing this cat, and apparently during the course of it, her what was a wig fell off or went askew or something. So the witness, she saw this happen, and she said that the woman's head was very scaly. It was she described it as scales like a snake, and of course John and the other guy, they're thinking, oh, it must be just really dried out skin, or she must have some kind of condition, or something must be going on. But this of course made people curious, and of course the strange fact that she was chasing this cat trying to catch it and was frustrated that it got away from her was more fuel for the fire. On another occasion, John himself ran into these people, the gentleman, at a grocery store in town. It was a Myers. And he said that the guy was pushing around a shopping cart that was completely loaded with meat, hamburger meat and steaks. And he said it was mostly beef, but it was all just filled with raw meat, nothing else in the cart. And of course, he thought that was weird. And John says, kind of jokes with the guy and tries to make conversation. Says, you must be having a barbecue or something. And he told me that when he said this, the guy just looked at him like he was really disgusted or angry that John had said something, and that he let out this weird noise that he described as sort of a hissing type of sound. He said it's kind of like that sound when somebody's forcing air through their teeth very suddenly. But he said it had this weird tone to it, so this bizarre hissing type of noise. There's a few other things that happen along the way, because John gets curious, and he gets close to this guy at one point and realizes the guy's wearing a toupee, and that he has very scaly, dried out skin on his head also. So the real kicker to the whole thing came when these people, they suddenly moved out as quickly as they had moved in. And John gets the chance to stop by this house and get inside for a few moments as I think there are workers there or something, starting to do repairs or whatnot. And he goes inside. It's right after these people have left. And he said it really was like an animal den or something. He said there was no furniture. They had never had any furniture in there except for like an old, if I recall correctly, it's something like an old picnic table or something like that. This old table. And he said that there were meat wrappers everywhere.
Wow.
From this meat. No signs that they'd ever cooked anything. Because I haven't looked at this account in a while. If I recall correctly, it might not even have been a stove in the house, but the implication was that they were eating all of this meat that they were purchasing raw, and there was no indication of anything else, any other kind of food or anything that they had eaten. And they had shown up in this really old beat up car that was kind of a junker, and rattled and made noises, of course, when it trudged down the street. And John had told me that the car itself was so full of trash that he had walked by this car numerous times and looked in it. He said the whole back seat was covered with trash. He said there was so much trash in there, there's no way people could sit in the back seat or even the passenger seat. And again, it's like a lot of wrappers from meat packages and things like this. So it's a really bizarre story. It's of course there are other aspects that sort of played in. The neighbor's wife, she had gotten obsessed with the idea that these were reptilians because she had, after this encounter with the woman and seeing this snake-like head that the woman had under the wig, she started looking up things on the internet and discovered the whole, what a rabbit's hole that is if you start looking at all the conspiracy theories and alien connected accounts and everything else that talk about reptilians and how they can, guise themselves as humans and everything else. And so she had become obsessed with this idea that they were actually some kind of reptilians. They weren't even human. And of course, John, who was, like I said earlier, he was a computer expert, and a very logical thinker in that sense, and liked to a puzzle solver. Liked to figure things out. He liked to solve puzzles. And when he had a few bits of information about this, of course, he got very curious, and he set about trying to see what he could learn. And of course, he only found things that confounded him all the more. I think the fact that he saw this guy's skin, under a toupee, and the back of his neck that was very scaly, and John had let his dog get close, had his dog on a lead, but let the lead out some, and let his dog get close to this guy one night, and the dog sort of headed towards the man and then turned around and ran back to John. So, that's always quite an indication when an animal, shows that they're afraid of something, someone or something that's going on, because they have a different level of sensitivity, of course. But there you have it. In a nutshell, that's the tale of the snakeheads.
That is a weird story, and that's an intriguing one. And see, and I do apologize. I should have known that was yours, because I've read that book, and like most of all your books are pretty good. They're pretty awesome. Can't go wrong with a David Weatherly book, folks. Let me tell you,
Thanks, man.
You can't. Which, while I have you on here, you've released, since me and you talked last. We talked during what everybody's calling the snowvid, because we were all inside of our houses for a week because it was frozen down here in Texas, which normally doesn't happen. And that show, I believe that was on February 17th or something like that. And I had you back to back, you, Ken, Lyle, and Nick Redfern. I had all you guys on, just calling all you guys. And I believe that you and me had talked about the Mandela effect and the Fate magazine story. Somebody told me that story the other day, David. I was at the gym. Okay. And this random guy that I started talking to, I had my Paranormal Round Table shirt on, and we were talking about the show, because the guy that worked at the gym, he knew about it. Him and his girlfriend watched the show. And so then this guy starts talking about giant birds and telling me a Thunderbird story. And it hit home what we talked about the last time when you were on, about the Fate magazine. And I'm still blown away that I could have swore that was in Fate magazine, and it wasn't. And we were sitting there going
Thunderbird,
yeah, and we could not, and then the other day, I think I was talking to Barton about it too the other day. We were just like, because everybody thought the same thing. I mean, I know we're not crazy, Well, I mean, right. I guess we're a little crazy. We're in this field, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we're not losing our minds here, folks. This has to be a Mandela effect, because I could have swore that it was in Fate magazine. So then the guy starts telling me, he said, yeah, there's a picture of a giant bird, and then we went down the rabbit hole for a little bit, and then I had to get back to my workout. But it was weird, because I just kept thinking, man. And so I asked that guy, and my nephew was with me, Anthony, the one that's here in the studio. And I asked the guy, I said, do you ever read Fate magazine? He said, oh yeah, I used to read it all the time, because he's real into this kind of stuff. And I said, do you remember that picture being, and I hated to kind of lead him in there, but then he goes, I thought that's where I'd seen. I said, so did I. And, I said, I had David Weatherly on my show, and he thought the same. We both had kind of, so, and you were like, no, you looked into it and it wasn't there. But that was just a weird thing. But, that was the last time you were on, and that was back in February, and you were writing some books at that time, because you're always writing. I think you and Nick just write constantly, and you guys write. But since then you've written. Was it Cryptids of the Tar Heel State? Wasn't that one of them?
Yeah. Oh gosh, since February. Let's see. Haunted Prisons.
Yes.
Wicked 46, which is about a Pennsylvania haunting. Monsters of the Tar Heel State, which is North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Peach State Monsters, which is Georgia. And this week, Monsters of Big Sky Country just came out,
Wow,
which is
that's
Montana.
Oh,
That's
man.
the last 3 are all part of the Cryptid State series, and there's 7 of those out so far. And people are just really responding well to those and really enjoying them, and I'm having a good time doing it. So, hoping to get all 50 knocked out.
Get them done. I tell you what, I've got some stories about immortals. I got friends, personal friends, who believe that there's a guy that we knew that's immortal. He lives in Las Vegas, so maybe he can give you some of his potion, so you can just live forever and write all that. So you can make sure.
Send it on.
But yeah, dude, I'll definitely. You're gonna have to come back on, and we're gonna have to do a show, another show. And like I said, I apologize. The first time that you came on, I was so stoked to talk to you, because having read all your work and had always looked up to you, and I had David Weatherly on, and then I blabbed too much, and people were like, "Yeah, you're stupid. You didn't let him talk enough." And I'm like, "Yeah, I was. I'm sorry, and I apologize." But
yeah, no worries, man.
Yeah, man. But it was really cool to interview you, and then we talked about it, and it was so weird that we both had that same memory of that picture. But you definitely, folks, check it out. And I need some more books, by the way, too, David. I'm almost out of your books. I've been giving them away, and people really like your books a lot. I mean, we give away Linda Godfrey's books, your books, and Ken and Lyle and Nick and everybody. And it's something we do weekly. And your books are that everybody likes your books a lot.
Oh,
and
cool.
for the good reason. I love the Alaska one. Me and my wife read that one together, and she was just like, this was awesome. And then after we did the Port Chatham thing, we talked about it when me and Ryan did the Genosqua episode on or not, was it I think it was Genosqua on his channel on Whisper to a Scream. Well, then everybody started doing it. And
Right.
I kept telling people, I was like, well, that was based on Weatherly's work in that Alaskan cryptids book, so I gave you the credit for that. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Dave. So it was good talking to you, man. I'm going to let you run because I know you're a busy guy and you got to get back to writing all about these states. We got to get them done. And so,
But yeah, man, no problem. It's great to jump on for a few, and just, hit me up and we'll set up another show and cover some of the other cryptid stuff I've done. In the meantime, eerielights.com. That's where you can find all the info.
eerielights.com, folks. David Weatherly is pretty much my neighbor. He's a good guy. I like him a lot. He's a nice fella. He's not a reptilian as far as I know. So, all right, Dave, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it, dude.
No problem, Josh. You have a good night.
You too, man.
See ya.
All right, bye. So, folks, that's David Weatherly. He's a good friend of mine, and got a lot of really good books, good stories. I'm a reader. I don't know if people read nowadays. And I was talking to another author the other day. He's an author and a researcher friend, and we were talking about how the podcasters have kind of usurped some of the authors' juice because of we can tell stories just like talking whatever. But I think that there is a prestige that goes along with being an author, which is why I'm going to write a book and become a published author, just because I believe that is how you give yourself that validity, because you can write. And I think writing a book shows a level of intelligence that a lot of people just can't do it. And I want to be able to say that I've done it, but I want to write a good book. I don't want to just write some garbage, and Weatherly is one of the best. Him and Redfern, I mean, prolific authors, Ken and Lyle and Barton. Can't say their names enough, because those are the people that if you're gonna run and read a book about cryptids, and Linda Godfrey, of course, Chad Lewis, those are the people you're gonna want to read. I mean, there's a lot of people with books out there that just write whatever. I've picked up books and I thought, oh, this one sounds good. And I read about 3-4, chapters, and I'm just like, God, I'm wasting my life. But these people, like David I just had on, they write good books about really cool subjects. And that state series that he's writing, the one with the most recent one, the Big Sky Country, Montana, I can't wait to get my hands on that. But yeah, folks, go check it out, eerielights.com and David Weatherly. And that's very nice of him, just on the cuff, just to come on and tell that story. You never know who your neighbors are. I'm going to tell one more story, and then I'm going to bounce because I have got to go. I have got to try to pick up something from the store for my wife before I get home. Real quick, this is a real quick one. I had a guy who told me a story. At one time, he was homeless. He lived behind an HEB. Now, HEBs are, they're like grocery stores, like major grocery stores here in Central Texas. Huge chain, actually in Texas in general. But he lived behind what he said was an HEB in a homeless camp. That happened here in Austin. And he used to have to walk down a trail to get back and forth from his camp to the HEB. And one day he was walking by and it was daylight and he saw this guy sleeping on his side. And he looked almost like all he was wearing was a shirt. And the upper body, it looked like, I don't know how you would describe the hands. He said, I can't remember how he described them. I'm trying to think of the name of the dinosaur you told me. Velociraptor. The hands almost looked like a little, like he was like looking, this guy was wearing like a long white shirt. And he said, what is that? And he kind of was curious. And so and it was another homeless person in the camp. There's a lot of homeless people here. And he walked over and he said when he looked at this guy, the front of the body looked like a man. The head looked smooth. And he had what looked like maybe a hairpiece or something that had fallen off and was underneath the guy. Like you could see it. And he said that it was like a bluish gray color. Okay. And then he looked down and he realized that this long white shirt, like it was a button-down shirt, was covering part of the legs, and there was a tail. Okay. So what essentially looked like the lizard man from, like I guess, like from a swamp, I guess Sinister Swamp, Lyle's book, the Swamp Man, the Lizard Man from Lyle's book, The Lizard Man. He was like, it looked like that, like, because I corresponded with the guy and I said, did it look like this and that, whatever. He no longer lives in Austin. He moved. I don't blame him. And he's no longer homeless, but he lives way out in West Texas now. But he said, yeah, it was weird. It was almost like a lizard man looking thing with a long shirt on. It was asleep, or he was asleep. And then he said later on, he saw this guy riding a bike, and he said that it looked like the same build, the same size, and the same shirt. And he said that the guy was bald-headed and had no hair, like he had alopecia or something. He had no hair on his face or his head. And I was just like, what the heck is that? He said, I swear it had to be the same guy. But he no longer was a lizard. He looked like a man. So that was his story, and I talked to him and he was just like, it was very weird. I don't know what that was. If I had to take a guess, I'd say it was some sort of reptilian type entity or being, I don't know, shapeshifter of some kind. But yeah, folks, tonight I gotta cut it a little shorter than usual. My wife's birthday, and it's almost over, and I have to run. But I love you all. Thank you, PRT family. Thank you for being family. Thank you for coming in every Tuesday and listening to me blab and bring people on and talk and all we do. And you, the listeners, I know it sounds cliche, but you are the show. Because without you, I'm just a guy up here on a microphone talking to myself. Can you imagine that? If I didn't have an audience and I was just up here, hey, boy, that would be weird. But luckily, that's not the case. And you guys, you help make PRT what it is. And don't forget, let me go ahead and do this right now while we're at it, because I want to make sure that everybody knows. The winner of the contest this past week has not gotten back with me. but I want to make sure that he gets his prize. Chad Avery. Chad, if you're out there listening, you won the weekly giveaway from the Saturday contest. And so you have a book coming. And in fact, I'll give you a David Weatherly book. And but get in touch with me, Chad, and because I need to know where to send this to. And another thing too, Jeremiah Fountain. I did do a show with him and Nick Valente, and they were going to release it, and then they had to pull it, or they did release it, and then they pulled it. And we talked about all kinds of interesting stuff. I was on there for 2 hours with them, and we talked about all kinds of cool things. And Jeremiah's a really good guy. And so he had to edit something out. And so they had to so that's what happened with that show. We didn't get to release it yet or whatever. But then of course Nick Valente was on there with me. And if anybody knows Nick is from the NADP. He's very big in the NADP. 2 people in this field that need to write books. Me and Nick. Okay. Nick Valente. Don't even think I could ever be put in the same category as these other guys I just mentioned. They were authors who've been writing for years and doing what they do. And it's a shame that it's people that just can jump on, a podcast and just say whatever and do whatever, when these guys have been writing books and toiling away for years doing what they do. I don't want to see that go away. I want very much for that to stick around, because I think reading is important, and so many people nowadays can't even read correctly. I mean, I had a guy that worked for me and was having a hard time. I'm not going to mention any names, because this was years ago, but he couldn't write his reports, and I didn't understand why. And it was because he read at like a second grade level. And he had gone through his life for almost 40 years in that capacity. I cannot understand. I couldn't even imagine not being able to read or write correctly. But, people have problems. There's people who don't read. People who are not just uneducated, but they have no drive or anything it takes longer to read a book. And so people, they're like, oh, I don't have time for that, And I know that my nephew's generation, they're a little less on the reader side. And that's a shame, because I'd like to see more and more people reading, because you do get a lot out of it, and so the books, the actual physical copies of the books too are much better, I think, than the downloads, just because you get, the book, it's there, it's like the world ever goes down, electricity goes out, there ain't gonna be no podcasters. You're gonna have books. That's all you're gonna have. So anyways, folks, like I said, every week we give away a book, and Chad Avery, you won. You left a comment in the group, Paranormal Round Table group, and your comment was chosen. You were chosen through, because you made a comment. We do that every week. Okay. Don't forget about our groups, folks. We're growing by leaps and bounds. Paranormal Roundtable, the group, Paranormal Encounters, Paranormal Lounge. We have the Paranormal Truckers group now, John King, and been helping him grow that. We need to grow that. Elijah and Johnny Henderson and Cryptid Studies Institute and their group. Don't forget about them. Show them some love. They're good people. And then, of course, there's the Josh Turner fan page. There's 2 of them, Josh Wolf Turner and Josh Turner fan page. It was created by fans. And so that was created by Phil Stern from Germany. So those groups, go in and join those groups. And don't forget, last but not least, Ryan Tremblay's group, Whisper to a Scream. And don't forget about the art contest. It didn't really catch on this past month. We only got about 6-7 submissions. So, but Doug Jones did make a really awesome picture. So he's like been the winner over and over again. So I think, Doug, at the end of the year, you're going to have to get some kind of good package from us, because you're amazing and your artwork is amazing. Also, we're going to be looking for artists to do submissions for the packaging of the action figures. So if somebody's interested in doing that, you know, and we may start off with like some mini figures, these little mini ones, you know, just to see how it sells and how it catches on, you know, and then we may move into the 3 3/4 inch figures. We're not exactly sure what we're going to do yet. Me and Lyle have been in contact, talking a lot about it. And Ken's figures should be done soon. And then he's going to move on. I think it's Barton Nunley after that. And we're eventually going to have him and hopefully Nick Redfern and Nick Valente. But I thought that those guys would be cool figures to start with. I would definitely like to get a lot of the important people, people that have helped influence me in my career, you know, and of course the cryptids, because we wouldn't be here without them. So give me suggestions, folks. If you got any suggestions of people that you'd like to see made into a figure and be a part of this line, or if you would like to, you know, if there's a cryptid that you want, you know, I mean, let me know. Also, I'm getting ready to do more work on the Chupacabra. So if anybody's got any Chupacabra stories, send them my way. I got a vampire and another zombie episode that I'm trying to work on too at the same time. I try to do a lot of different things at once just so that I can, you know, keep the variety, keep it going. And of course, as always, if you have any great Dogman or Bigfoot stories, send them my way too. And I can tell them for you, or you can come on the show and tell them. It's your choice, as long as you can tell them and you're okay. It's great. That's fine with me. I always enjoy people coming on the show and talking, and we have a good time here. And like I said, it's wife's birthday, so I got to run. But let's not forget about the prayer group too. We have the PRT prayer group. Paranormal Round Table has a prayer group now. It's run by my beautiful sweet wife Nellie, and she turned 25 today. So everybody wish her a happy birthday for 25. I'm actually just a little bit older than her. I'm 27. You know, I'm getting old, man. You know, 6 years ago, and I remember my first beer. It's crazy. Anyways, folks, yeah, and so if you believe that, I'll throw in the Golden Gate for free. So I had a great time tonight. I love everybody, and I want everybody to take care of one another, be kind to one another. Let's work this together and let's rock this. And the last thing I'm going to say, we hit 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're all on these other platforms too, but on YouTube. Okay, and that's where the live stream is YouTube exclusive. We hit 15,000. I was going to do it at the beginning of the show, but you know, I just was like, hey, I'm gonna leave it for the end there. Somebody said Linda Godfrey should get a figure. Yeah, there you go. We already actually drew one up for her, but we need to talk to her about it first. 15,000. We're rolling. Okay, we're rolling. All right. So, anyways, folks, everybody, good night.